received a copy of the minutes. What are your wishes?
Move approval.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Jeff, what you got for us?
Not a whole heck of a lot going on. It's winter time. The sun was up at 5 o'clock last night, so it's staying up a lot longer and it's awesome.
Yeah,
Finally able to see the sun.
that is helpful. Otherwise,
Otherwise, roads are pretty well dry and clear and haven't had too many complaints.
good deal. Okay, all right. 9:05. We don't have Erica here. Is she? Oh, is she out there? Okay. Yeah, we're a little early, I guess, unless.
You have an extra agenda.
Are you? Question for, Jeff? I did. Yes,
I
don't know.
Yeah, I think we're still getting some salt left. Salt coming in left. I know we were doing that all the way up through Friday last week. Yeah. I think we're thinking about trying to get it a little later. It's all pretty well frozen down, so do that.
All that's coming or?
We're working on ordering it. Right now we're setting dates for dust control. Get that going. And my biggest thing is right now is budgets and what our future, summer projects are gonna be.
Okay. That's good. Okay, there. I'll get this figured out sooner or later. Okay, now on to Eric Allen, complying with the red flag rule. We received your letter.
Well, the good news is as far as I can tell, we're still in compliance, it doesn't apply, so there's that. Also, I'm going to take this opportunity to, give the board an update as to Assistant County Attorney Kaylee Adams' average weekly hours. She is a part-time county attorney. Beginning this year, she will be in charge of basically all prosecution. She's discussing with me whether I would like to step back into juvenile court, but it is her favorite thing, so. There has been a change to the court schedule as well this year. We have a new juvenile court judge, and she has now put juvenile court off of Tuesday afternoons and onto Monday afternoons.
So everything will be Monday then?
Everything will be Monday, unless there's some special that's something because of time frames. So Monday will be the big day. And then as part of that, Kaylee is in our office Monday through Wednesday. She is available from home Thursday and Friday. And her weekly hours certainly average at least 30. Some weeks more, some weeks during holiday weeks, slightly less. So that's my update on Kaylee.
And we also have, and we can just, we'll jump to this, I think now. It is her 5-year service award. Yes. So I will let Erica present it to you, and in front of it, I don't know, do we have Jesse for a picture, or do you want to take one of yours? Okay. But
Could probably, I mean, we don't want to slow down the forward progress of each of the board. We can do this.
Yep, I'll just come out and do it
but
with you.
Okay, we're
yeah,
gonna do
but
this.
Unless
Haley,
you
do
have
you have,
more
yeah,
to
do you
talk
have,
about. Do you have more to talk about?
The less I say, I feel the better.
Okay.
Haley, do you have anything you'd like to? Yeah, say. Yeah.
Silence last week.
Trying to help things.
Well, thank you for your 5 years of service.
Absolutely. I love being in Grundy, so.
Yeah.
Motivates me to definitely.
Erica, can you answer a question right off the top of your head?
Probably not, but let's give it a go.
LJ's got one for you.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple, I think.
No, don't start me with that.
I've been township trustee for a long time. Can I continue to be township trustee and supervisor both at the same time?
I don't believe that there's any conflict in the offices as far as that goes. I mean, the board appoints township trustees with the permission of the acceptance of the trustee, and then, your guys's, budget, I mean, you
We
don't,
just approved the,
yeah, you don't,
to us.
they approve it, they don't create it or
Right.
set it. To be on the safe side, I think it'd probably be a good idea to abstain from any vote on your,
Oh, absolutely.
budget thing, but I can't, off the top of my head, I don't see any other conflicts in the offices.
I just wanted to make sure. I didn't want to get down the road and get fired from both of them.
I think you,
They'd only kick you off of the township trustees, I'm sure, so, good.
All right, thank you.
Anything else,
Yeah.
Rick? You wanna throw
well,
anything out there?
I don't wanna stump you real bad.
Thank you, thank you for giving me a
It's
softball
Monday
early it's Monday morning and it's early in the year.
Thank you.
You.
Okay,
Do we have to act on our red flag rule?
we don't have action on the agenda. It says complying with red flag rule,
I think she just states whether or not we're in the compliance.
right? And she has
Okay.
stated that we
I
are,
believe that's right.
so. I mean, I guess I could look back, and if we need to, we could act on it next week, then we could put it on the agenda. Kirk,
Just wanted to let you guys know that, the bit mining coin place burned down last night, if you didn't know that, so.
I did drive by there this morning.
Okay, interesting. So, I don't know if there's anything that they have to do as far as rebuilding or anything like that, but might be a good opportunity to look into it. So, there was 2 trailers out there that survived the fire, but the main place where all their CPUs were completely burned down to the ground. So,
Did the junk burn too?
Huh?
Did the junk out there?
Mm,
burn?
not
I
really.
think we did it up.
It's still kind of dirty, but.
Yeah. And what it once was.
Any cause?
I'm guessing it's electrical. There's a lot of, they got a substation right there for that place, so I'm guessing it's probably something electrical. They have cameras there. They're supposed to get me, video footage of the fire, so maybe they're have it caught on fire, who knows? So. The other thing is, I think there's a resolution
Yes,
in
there
front of
is.
you. We hired Lindsay Reichel, to take over kind of, as a part-time dispatcher, jailer, and she will have some office duties as well. Lindsay came from the clerk's office, what, been there a couple of, 2, 3 years? 4 years, 4 years, and prior to that, she, worked at the detention center in Eldora, and she helped manage that while she worked there, so. She has some correctional experience in running a correctional institution.
So I guess at this time, would someone care to introduce resolution number 31, 2024, 2025, approving new hire for sheriff's office?
I'd like to introduce that resolution.
And is there a second?
Sorry.
All right, Alan, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Vic,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
LJ,
Yes.
Mark,
Yes.
and Heidi.
Yes. It's passed. And effective, so she is started.
Yep,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
started December 30th. The other thing, I don't know if you heard, we did do a press release. We had two deputies that were injured over the weekend, in a high-speed pursuit. Temperatures were really cold. They had to chase the guy. They were both exposed to the extreme temperatures for about 45 minutes. One of the deputies, has some pretty severe frost burn. He's having a consultation today with Iowa City at the burn unit. Don't think they'll probably do anything, but he has been to the ER twice, so we will have some workman's comp stuff coming. Both of them also injured their knees, minor injuries to their knees, but just They both were seen at the ER along with, the suspect, so, and he also remains in custody under a $75,000 bond.
Did see that. How far did you end up chasing him?
They chased him for about a mile on foot. So one of the deputies got out of his car. The last thing you think about is putting your coat and your gloves on. So he didn't have a coat or glove, and the other deputy had a coat on. So he was kind of able to protect himself a little bit, but
Yeah, anything else for Kirk this morning? Well, we got him in the hot seat. No?
All right.
Well, welcome, Lindsay.
Yeah, welcome, Lindsay.
And now the fun begins. Travis.
I'll begin.
Yeah.
Vince, I go first because mine's pretty basic. So it's to ease everybody into the budget season.
If you guys look under your expenditures, it's page 11.
Um,
I have no changes from the previous year, for my budget again this year. I believe last year I made a couple minor adjustments just to get some things into the actual category where they're being spent. But no increases at all as far as the things that I have control over, which is outside of the realm of salary and Vipers and all that stuff, but, it's pretty exciting. It's all the same. If I don't spend it, it goes right back to the county general fund. I try not to spend it all. I have pretty reasonable, amounts requested to cover things if I need to do something. So we don't have to do a budget amendment, but, it's not like if I have $2,000 in forms and supplies, I'm trying to spend all that at all. So, whatever I don't use, I turn back over, and I've done that since I've started. So if you have any questions about expenditures.
Travis's revenues are on page 8.
On revenues, super exciting news here. We're sticking with what we went with last year. I always mention I'm a big fan of under promising and over performing. I think it's also really difficult to judge what the real estate market is gonna do. It's difficult I don't know what we're gonna collect in transfer tax. Sometimes there's large sales that bring in lots of transfer tax for the county side. If I knew how to predict all that, I'd be picking the lottery numbers. So I just kind of stick with things, the same. We pretty much hit those targets for the most part. Usually it's good news to report that we're over that. So, it is, let's see, this year, as far as the current budget, we'll have some boat renewal revenue coming in there, so it should be sitting really good as far as the revenues going into this next budget year, but no changes there on my estimates either.
And you're working as far as the recorders group, towards increasing some of those fees. That's kind of a goal this year.
Yeah, one of the things that happened last year, in our session, which was kind of unexpected, a little bit of I'm not gonna call it a windfall because it's, for work we're doing. Every renewal that we do, for the longest time, like we're talking boat, snowmobile, ATV. This doesn't include the hunting and fishing stuff that we sell. We're bringing in a writing fee of $1.25. I really don't know how the conversation started with somebody in the legislature, but it was brought to their attention that that's what we're doing, and they said, well, we just need to increase this while we were actually making the title fees consistent across the line, because for some reason, they got written out of the code that we've got a writing fee for the titles on the things on the non-boat side. So when they corrected that in the code, they decided we're just gonna give you a $2 writing fee for every transaction. So we do get 75 cents additional for each renewal that we do this past year. So that's been, a nice little help.
Mhm.
But yes, we are working towards this fee policy initiative that should hopefully really give us a nice little boost to what we bring in as far as base recording fees. I can give you just kind of some general facts. These are based on the calendar year from January 1 of 24 through December 31st. And just the base recording fee, this doesn't include any auditor transfer fees, doesn't include any real estate transfer tax. It's just the base per page. It also does not include the 2 surcharges. So there's, I'll go over this because we've got some new folks here that might not know this. So our recording fees now, as they currently stand, it's $7 for the first page and $5 for each additional page. And out of that $7, the extra 2 on that first page, each of those are a $1 kind of, so not service fee, but they're $1 goes to the Recorder's Record Management Fund. And that is code specified what we get to spend that on. That is for the upkeep and maintenance of our permanent records. And then the other $1 goes to the Fund 825 at the State Treasurer's Office, and that funds our statewide electronic recording system, Iowa Land Records, which has been in existence since 2005. The only statewide system in the country, so that those dollars go to there. But as far as general fund recordings in the calendar year, we brought in $51,470 in just the base recording fee. So on top of that, we've got those document management e-commerce fees for both $2,567. We brought in $4,510 in auditor transfer fees. So that's a $5 fee for every parcel that transfers in the county on a deed. There is a cap on that of $50. So if the legal description includes more than 10 individual non-contiguous parcels, it's capped at $50. We rarely see that. Most deeds are 1. Occasionally there's 2 or 3. As far as writing fees, that's these the $2 fees that we get for the renewals. There was $3,276. We get 50 cents for each hunting and fishing transaction that we do. We collected $460.50 in those. But we do collect a lot of money for the state. I can tell you transfer tax, that's one of the biggest things that we collect. We collected $185,277.60 in transfer tax. The county gets to keep 17.25% of that, so $31,960.39. And then the other $153,317 we get to send right to the state. So
Did you get a nice Christmas card from them?
No.
Oh, okay.
never. But that's kind of what's going on. My budget's pretty basic and no frills, and I am proud that we don't raise anything. I haven't since I started, and I like to live within my means. We have to do that at home, so we most certainly have to do that.
Transfer fees that go to the state
Transfer tax,
tax, does that, you transfer that the day that it's done?
that's a monthly deal.
Okay,
We're doing that electronically now. They've changed their process. They used to cut them a check every month. And now I'm doing that report through the GovConnect website, and they are sweeping that money from my bank account. So yeah, it is a monthly thing. So every month we do a report to them. the Department of Revenue and give them the authorization to take the money from us. So,
So does that go to the general fund or where does that go?
at the state,
Yeah. It just goes away.
we pay it to the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
So I really don't know what
I
it's
didn't know
used
if it-
for at the state level.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
gonna.
mean, like I said, we collect a lot of money for the state. I don't know where most of it goes as far as once it leaves here. Yeah, some of the stuff like, some of the monies we collect for the Department of Health and Human Services, like on vital records. I do know, like every vital record that we issue is a $15 fee for a certified copy. And the county retains $4 of that, so $11 goes to the state. I do know that like some of that is broken into, for on the vital records, like some of it goes to a few different funds, that the Health and Human Services have. There's like, I want to say like a battered women's type of
Sure.
it's things that have been earmarked and laid out long before. I don't know all of it, but yeah, it's all state money, so.
Okay. I don't know if it has a specific place or not, so.
It does not come back to our secondary road,
Yeah.
No,
and it's road use tax.
So you said the county's allowed to keep 17.
17.25% of the real estate transfer
When's
tax.
the last time that percentage was changed?
It's been a long, long time. I don't know off the top of my head. I think we had this, maybe had talked about this maybe last year in my budget meeting. And I did look it up. I can't remember off the top of my head when that code was last. I'd have to look in the code citation. to
But it's
see
been
when-
quite some time.
It's been a long time. And, I think I mentioned then the supervisors affiliate, could certainly try to start pushing their lobbyists to lobby for more of that to be retained in the county. Good luck with that, but I mean, that would be where that would start, I would think. It is, I don't know what they do with that money, that the Department of Revenue. It's a mystery to me, so. I'm sure it goes to the general fund, but I
Don't know
can't
if
say
we
that.
wanna
with
open
certainty.
that up. It might go the other way.
Yeah, they might.
Well, that's true too,
That's-
Vic.
You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody have any questions as far as any of that goes or about anything?
Budget's pretty straightforward.
It is, yeah. That's why they make me first.
And one of the things that, your records have been digitized now.
Yes. And that is something, that's keep in mind when other people's budgets, specifically IT, we've done a lot of digitizing of things, and there are some ongoing costs with some of that, I think to make things cleaner, and even our software, our recording software. It's the nature of the beast that continues to go up, we've been in a 5-year contract, I believe, on that, and I'm pretty sure that Tyler is only going to, year by year now, so, that leads me to believe that's so they can raise it every year, so we got that to look forward to, but, yeah, otherwise, that project that we did with ArcaSearch with the ARPA funds has been, really useful. I can't tell you how nice it is to, when we have a request for, somebody doing some research, looking for some documents, things like that, then we can pull the transfer books that are housed in Alan's office up on our computer now, instead of having to, make sure somebody's in the office to cover, if you're trying to do that while somebody's at lunch, it's just gotta wait. Well, now I can pull those up on my computer and do that research in advance. We're loving being able to share that with the real estate world, because used to be people would come in and do their own research. All the attorneys' offices would send their paralegals in and they would look things up, and we just have gotten away from that. COVID reinforced that when people couldn't come into the office. And so, we were doing a lot more of that kind of research, not necessarily research, but if people, had ideas of, hey, I'm looking for this, I can't find it, we would do that thing, help them out finding that. And now we're able to point them to that website and they can do a lot of that on their own. There's a little bit of a learning curve, to utilize that site, because it's an acquired skill to be able to search for real estate, because it's not just like picking up the book and flipping it open and there it is. Sometimes you've got to follow some chains and stuff, but, it's been really nice to have and we've gotten a lot of compliments on it. One thing that I did get an update, from David Frank, excuse me, who was the, person that kind of the lead point with ArcaSearch that did our project. And I found out from another county who's getting an archive built that one of the questions she asked was, well, what do you have in place to prevent people from like scraping this data, like doing a bulk scrape of it? And he said, well, I guess we hadn't really thought about that. But I did have a conversation with David. He was in the area and he stopped in to say hi and, drop some bits off, that sort of thing. And he said, send me an email about that. And we did. I did ask, heard that you guys are working on something to prevent this sort of data scraping. And he did reach out to me and say that they will be scheduling our archive to go through the whatever process they've come up with to do that, and it will be at no charge to the county. So,
Oh, good.
so our archive will be safe from the people that just want to download all of our information and do whatever with it. I don't know, but it's public record. But at the same time, we don't, we sell data to certain institutions like Zillow and First American. We have, several of those type of vendors who, I don't know why they're gathering all of it, but it's out there and they like to archive it. So we do sell that sort of data in a monthly or a weekly, like FTP download to some of those companies. And we're charging what the county attorney has told me I can charge for it. There are other counties that charge much, much more. But we do have to comply under Chapter 22 of Open Records Law, and we can't overcharge for it. So I tend to agree with the county attorneys that level rate that she said that we should be charging for it. I think some of the other counties who are getting much more are opening themselves up to potential litigation if they're maybe charging more than it actually takes them, the time it takes them. So anyway, I've expended a lot of air, so anybody else have any questions? Not?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Travis. Alan, you have the evaluation report and max levy worksheet.
Yes, Amy had finished up that, I think the input of everything towards the end of the year, I think that December 31st. And you've all got that handout where the 23-24 valuation comparison. So the lines that I'm kind of just focused in on are the top two or three. So lines 2, 3, and 4, where it shows your rural. Column B is the rates for what would be the next tax year. Comparison to column C, which was the prior year, and D is the dollar amount change, and then E is your percentage change. So what we had was rural went up by 3.34%, urban went up by 1.73%, and then below in the gray, which is a little bit hard to read, the total's 2.87. And kind of how that affects us is with the new House File 718, they did make some changes to the threshold for percentage changes to where they will cap us. So on the larger sheet, show that your FY25 budget data was the general basic fund levy was max rate was 3.5. So $3.50 for every thousand. And your max dollars, the next amount, and then the non-TIF taxable. And it shows our taxable growth at 287. Well, our threshold now was if you're above 2.75, I've got the rest of it here, but we just kind of hit that first little threshold where they did limit us by 1%. And then the state already fills this out on their budget site. So the max levy for general basic going for fiscal year 26 will be $3.46 per thousand. Where the next line item is the max dollar. So we're still able to take in a little bit more there than what we did the prior year, but we're gonna be limited to that on that side for the general rate. And then below that is the rural basic. That one probably got hit a little bit harder. So that max rate was $3.53 per thousand. Max dollars, a little bit over 2.9 million. But their growth, they saw the bigger increase of 3.34, but their limitation still only 1%. And then their basic max levy was reduced to $3.49 per thousand. So their max dollars is a little bit less, but it's still similar to what we had the prior year. And we did, Angie and I did discuss about, budgeting going forward. We are gonna ask for Don's assistance again this year. But my plan was to have Don kind of look over my shoulder as we do the work. Rather than him doing it. So that's, Don's listening. So Don, that's what my plan was.
He's agreed to that.
I'm not sure yet. But
Don't say
also-
nothing if you agree.
Because he's on mute, so I don't. Unless I'm
I think that's a good plan.
And that was kind of also to finish up our reestimate, because Angie expressed that when we finish the reestimate for this year, same thing, she'd like to just kind of go through it. Kind of his assistance rather than having him do it and not really following it fully. But thanks for putting all the budgets together.
Mhm. Yes, Andy does.
And we look forward to doing the rest of them coming up the next couple of weeks.
Does anyone have any questions for Alan about this? It will become crystal clear as we go along, I'm
Yes,
sure.
proceed along.
Otherwise, yep. We have the Library Association joining us this morning. You heard him.
No, I read this book.
I haven't given out the-
Now they don't.
Somewhere, that might go online.
No, I'm good.
Angie, is there anything from them?
Sorry,
I-
page
was it-
30 of your expenditures. Yeah, whenever you're ready, they're just finding out on the budget.
Let's see, whoever's.
Yeah,
That's the big
Yeah.
rocking chairs.
Yes.
They're not there yet.
I've been shoved up here. It works. So I'm Kate Poling. I'm a library director for Conrad Public Library, and I'm looking to see if I see any familiar faces here. Has anybody been to their local library lately?
Yeah.
Yes, and by the way, you are a
Yeah.
familiar face. Someone in the door.
Does dropping off a book for my wife in the book depository yesterday morning count? That count?
Convenient that you could just drop it
There's
there
a
and not have to get to the UPS store and like get a packaging label and send it back. I feel like that is an ever increasing part of our role as librarians is to help people figure out how to get their UPS shipping labels off their phone and print it out so they can send it back. So
You have, video books,
we do not have video.
or not
books.
video,
Audiobooks, we sure do. We have them on CD and we also have them available through multiple digital services. So one of the coolest new ones, this is completely off topic and not on my notes at all, but now you've asked. So we at Conrad recently added a new service called Canopy. It mainly streams movies, but they have a whole section of Canopy Kids content that you could put on your child's tablet, log it on as kids content, and it has all the Reading Rainbow, PBS Kids, Nicktoons, curated children's content. And one of my favorite things on there is they have the Mo Williams Pigeon and the Hot Dog. And it's the old, you know
We
it.
know it's.
And it's the old style, where where they used to zoom the camera in on the book page for animation, and then it would go over. And that is one of our most checked out Canopy videos. It is literally, they read the book aloud and move camera around the page to show the action. It reminds me so much of my childhood. And every time I do story time every week at our local daycare, and every time I'm like, okay, now we're gonna watch this on the tablet, the kids are like, oh, it's their favorite thing, because we just read that on a paper book and then we get to see it on the screen. So
Nice.
that's just a few of the fun things we're doing at the library. One of the not so fun things we do at the library is try and make our budget balance. We have gotten very good at saving money the last few years. We've also gotten very good at asking for money. We are requesting sponsorships for summer library programs. I've written grant after grant after grant application in the last few years. And it's free money when you get a grant, except the time it takes to apply for it, the time it takes to manage it, the time it takes to have your staff do all the required training for it. So it's not the easiest and best way to fund our libraries. The best way to fund our libraries is through our tax levies. And again, nobody likes to pay that. But what people like even less is when they've paid their taxes and then I call them up and say, hey, would you like to sponsor some prizes for our summer library contest, because we don't have the money to buy them. And what we have run into, especially post-COVID, is inflation has gone up a lot, approximately 4%. Our budgets, however, are still running on the 3% year-over-year increase that they have been doing forever. So I'm here this year to ask you guys if you could possibly find it anywhere in your budget to give us an increase of 4.5% for library services. Now, I tried to help you out, so I ran some numbers. Based on what we got in FY 24, which was our most recent data, that would still keep us at less than 1% of county funding. It would change us from 15% of rural services to 16%. Now, I know we need money for the weed commission, and I know we need money for the sheriff's office, because boy, I want to call that sheriff when I have a drunk patron in my library screaming at me, and I want him to come quick. But when you look at all the services the library provides, especially for our rural residents are the single largest cohort in our county. There are more rural residents than there are in this big city of Grundy Center. At our libraries, when I aggregated the data, and this came out really bizarrely perfect, they make up about 25% of our card holders. I mean, who would have thought 25% versus 75% of our city residents? When we look at our funding from our cities versus the supervisors, our cities are providing 80% of our funding. Rural is providing 20% of our funding. So we have a 5% mismatch right there. And with this 3% year over year, it is going to continue to get farther and farther apart. When I looked back at our city's funding, we've varied year to year. Some years they've given us an 8% increase was our top year. That was the year our insurance for property went up by $5,000. There was a tornado. There was a derecho. There's not much we can do about that, no matter how many light bulbs I change out to be cheaper LEDs, no matter how far down I turn the thermostat, no matter how much I try and shave down my book purchasing budget. People still want the new books. People still want the digital services. People still want a place with the heat on that their kids can go after school while they wait for a ride. There's a limit to what we can do. So we are asking this year for our rural residents to step it up just a little bit. When I ran the numbers, right now, with our 3% increase, every checkout that we do to a rural resident, just for a physical book, we're not counting the value of the building, of the programs, of all the other services we provide, like being the one place left with a fax machine. When you need to send that fax for your medical insurance, you can go to the library and we will do that for you. They pay our rural residents approximately $10.25 for each book checked out. If they bought that book on Amazon, it's gonna cost them at least $20. With this increase in funding, that price per checkout will go up a quarter. That is assuming we don't have more checkouts, because boy, if I have more funding, I can buy more books, get more cool stuff. We can get more people in our door, we can have cooler programs. So with that, we're gonna turn it over to the rest of our libraries. If you have any questions about some of the challenges they've faced in the last 5 years post-COVID, which, by the way, we are this close to being recovered. My circulation at Conrad is back to pre-2020 levels, which we are very excited about, especially when you factor streaming services exist. And our movie circ went down 80% in the last 5 years. That tell you how much more popular books have become. Everybody wants the new books. So we are saving money on buying fewer DVDs, but each DVD is now much more expensive than it was. And I've still got folks who like those. Because just like a few years ago when everyone worried, are there really gonna still be books in the future? The answer is absolutely yes. We will absolutely have libraries with great library services. The question is how we're going to adapt and look in the future, because while we're getting out of this COVID challenge, we're sure there's gonna be more to come. So thank you guys for your time today. And we have here Wellsburg, Grundy Center, Rhinebeck, and Dyke. We are missing our Beeman librarian today, which she's 2 miles down the road from me. So if you have any questions for her, I will try and answer as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Questions, ask us questions. Boy, we love to answer questions. That's one of the things we do at the library. We're the community help desk. You can call us and we will find you an answer, especially if you need to know your election polling place. That's very good at that this year.
I think we're gonna take a minute too to highlight just a little bit of a snapshot of each library so you can get a full picture of all of your lovely libraries in the county. I said this last year, it just amazes me being able to be a part of the Grundy County Library Association. This is rare. Not other counties work together as much as you see this group. They meet quarterly, they share resources, they share, like, when they're talking about expensive, we're all already talking about summer library programming, because that's huge. That is the draw. That is what brings people that I don't see start to come into the library. That's when families of all ages come into our library. But we're talking about remembering when a program could be $200, $250, and you could take, for example, if you got your Enrich Iowa grant, because you're an accredited library, which is a lot of work, that could fund your summer library program. Now, I'm getting really excited when I find one for $600. So what has happened to me in the last couple of years is our summer library program has been totally funded by private sponsorships. And that's really easy for me to say in Rhinebeck, where I have PCI, where I have businesses, where I have people around me, and I have private donors that just love our library. They're very excited. Today is the start of the adult winter reading program. And I have had people for the past 2 weeks asking me, when does it start? When does it start? And I don't think that happens everywhere for adult readers, but we're really lucky. But for like in Wellsburg, where, yes. And so we need that funding, and we also need to honor our donors. We need to be able to say, yes, I am taking your money to be able to do more, to do extra. I can, because I am fully supported by our county, by our city, by our state. I am able to take this donor's money and honor that by bringing extra things, by bringing STEAM things, by bringing, like, does anybody have a 3D printer?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. My brother got one. I was like, I can't afford that right now, but man, he's like, I'm hanging all of my tools up because I'm making this specialty part. People don't have room for that in their houses. People don't have resources for that. But he's like, the filament is $25 to make hundreds of projects. As a library, if I can get the main thing, I can do it. So that's just a small example of how I would use donor money. I don't have the COVID story because I was not there in COVID. I've gotten to be the director of the Rhinebeck Public Library for the last couple years. And I got the opportunity to come into a library that didn't have a lot of programming. And I'm really passionate about programming for all ages, 0 to 5, 6 to 11, and all the way to 110. And so I got to come in and do programming. So my numbers have been really fun to see. When I started, they had a door count of 8,000 and last year was 17,000 people through our door. And that is because of programming. Programming costs money. I did 365 programs last year. And that brought in 5,454 people who came just for the program. We're not talking about my families who just come in to play in the really cool treehouse. I'm telling they came just for that program. And that was, yeah, like I said, 365 programs. Programming costs money. We also try to feed people as much as we can at the programs, because for some kids, especially in the summer, that's when they get something to eat during the day. So that's part of the cost, but not the whole cost, but every program costs money. So, should I hand off to somebody? I get really excited.
Specialist.
I know. I was just gonna say that since we're one of the smallest libraries, and so we're not so much city, we're mostly rural. So our numbers are, our county is 40% of our patrons are rural Grundy County, and only 60% are city. So we really use your money. So we really appreciated it from the past, and we appreciate anything you can give us. Thank you.
Well, I'm Lindsay. I'm from the library right across the street. So I've seen some of your faces around. Just to go on with like what Lena was saying, there's a lot of life in our buildings. A lot of people tend to think that libraries are outdated, that everything is moving towards digital, and who needs the library. But that's just not the case. We have a lot of life in our buildings, and we are seeing those patrons rolling through our doors. And we want to offer them the best services that we can offer them. Kate talked about offering digital services. One challenge that we had at the library over in Grundy Center was we offered Hoopla, which is an on-demand streaming service. You can get ebooks, audiobooks, comic books, movies, TV shows, all on demand, and it's free for our patrons, which are the residents of Grundy Center, Holland, because we contract services for Holland residents, and then also rural Grundy Center or Holland addresses. That's our service area. At first, we offered 10 checkouts per month. You could download 10 items off of Hoopla per month. And it started slow. We kept building it. And then all of a sudden we had enough people that our bills were getting to be $700 a month, $800 a month, $850 per month. And we're like, we can't sustain this. This is not possible with the budget that we have. So we've already cut that service down dramatically. And now our bills are at least in half, and we're still just like, this is still probably too expensive for us. So we want to offer people what they're looking for. And we are in a digital world. It's a convenience thing. We have Libby, which is another service. Most of our libraries offer Libby, which is funded through the state library. And we pay a portion of that based on our population. But that is like a book on the shelf. If someone has it checked out, you can't come in and take it because it's gone. And you just have to wait your turn. Well, that's not very convenient. People don't enjoy that. They want it now. They want to read that hot title when it's hot. So offering Hoopla is an alternative to that, but it does cost money. So we're trying to find those places in our budget to support that. But again, we are supporting a lot of rural residents too, and they especially like it because then they don't have to travel into town to get a book if they don't need to. They can get it while they're out. And I know a lot of farmers. My own farmer husband in particular also loves those audiobooks because he's sitting in a tractor for hours and hours every day, just going back and forth in the field. And so he loves sitting there and listening to audiobooks. And that's one thing that he can get from our library. But we do have a lot of life in our libraries. My door count last year was over 22,000 people. We put on several hundred programs, 377 programs with over 5,600 people attending those programs. Our library
checkout system has the capability of keeping track of how much money we're saving our patrons when they come in and check out materials from our building. How much money they're saving themselves instead of going out and buying those items for themselves. We've saved our patrons over $350,000 just in this past year. So there is value to your libraries, and there is a return on investment to your residents when you fund libraries well. So I just wanted to give you that snapshot and hope that helps.
So you had to cut back on the downloads?
Yeah, so we've cut it back from 10 checkouts per month off of Hoopla down to 6. And then we also cut down, so for every checkout, there is a cost associated with it. Some items are $2.99 to check it out, some are $1.50 to check it out, up to like $3.99, I think was the most expensive. Yeah, and most of ours are audiobooks that get checked out. We also had to limit like how much we were going to
Can that
spend.
be fee-based?
Can it be fee-based?
Can you pass it on to the users?
We can, but it's not ideal when everything else in our building is free, every other service is free.
Just a suggestion if that's.
Yeah, so we've
your
cut that
hang
back
up.
just to like make it more feasible, but so that we don't have to do that. But yeah, there are a lot of libraries who have either just eliminated Hoopla completely as an option. I know Marshalltown Public Library just eliminated Hoopla. And yeah, or it's just cutting those back even more, which just cuts back how much we can offer through that service. So yeah.
And I would just piggyback off what she said also about a lot of life in libraries. Our door count has risen almost 30% in the last 5 years, which we're seeing a ton of kids after school in particular. And, you know, whether it's kids waiting for their parents to pick them up after work, rural parents, which is really handy for them to be there, or coming and doing activities. We have a lot of activities set up that kids can work on. And that's been a huge thing. And this last year, we actually increased my position to full-time, which is the first time for our library, so we're really excited about that, and we've seen that kind of growth, and we love it. It's just been going really well that way, and the how much life there is in the library. Libraries, I feel like, have really shifted and changed with the times and keeping up with the times. And also, just to also piggyback on what Lena said earlier, just 5 years ago when I started, we, like you said, we could get our summer library performers $250, that kind of thing. And like she said, now it's hard to find them for $600, $500. And that's just in 5 years time. So that's, I think, important just to acknowledge that it isn't just that cost increase, but in that's a short period of time for libraries to take that thing. So thank you for having us here today. We appreciate it.
And you guys have been great in supporting us.
Yes.
We really
Yes.
appreciate your
Absolutely.
support and your funding that you have.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yes.
When I left home this morning on the drive up here, I said, well, the library ladies are gonna be in here for their annual 3% asking. You surprised me a little bit. But I think one of the successes, and that's very evident of our libraries, you said they're changing. I think you ladies sitting here are the reason we're seeing those changes, because the enthusiasm you bring to our libraries, I think, is unparalleled. So we hear a lot of good things about our libraries.
I
The hard part of managing a library, having come from being the assistant director to the director, is it's not that we sit around and wonder, what could we do to try to make our library better? It is that I have everyone on my staff, from my high school aide to my custodian to my librarians going, I saw this. I have this idea. Oh, could we please? Oh, my friend told me about this in another library. Could we do this? And probably a good chunk of my job is going, not right now. We're gonna put it on the list of things that we hope to accomplish in the future. And believe me, the list just gets longer and longer, and every time we tick something off, it makes our day. And our library community is much larger than just our town, especially I'll speak for me and Sarah being down in the dog leg, where we're in this school district that spans 3 counties. We are the hub where everybody knows they can go to figure out what's going on, get their questions answered, find what they need. And I constantly say, we need to change that sign on the front of the building. It needs to be Conrad Community Center, Help Desk, and Library, not just library.
How many, so like for the kids that come in, would you say there's still quite a few that are using internet services because they don't have it at home? I'm just curious as to what you think there.
I have older people that don't have it at home. A lot of older,
Okay.
they don't have a computer, they don't have printers, so they come in. Kids, there might be a few,
Yeah.
but they like to come and then they like to all be there together and play games together. So
For them, yeah, that's definitely a social.
I have a
aspect of being
Roblox
together.
together.
Yeah.
Just curious.
I'm sorry, I would just add also that some libraries, including ours in Dake, we have hotspots that we check out to people. So, that's a relatively new thing. They can check out the hotspot and it gives you portable internet where you can be driving down the highway and getting internet through it in your vehicle. So we have families check those out a lot, particularly if they're going on trips or if they've just moved to town and they don't have internet yet, or families who are financially struggling and they need it once in a while. And we also have, you can use the internet in the library as well with your own devices and come in, but you can also, it extends for a little ways outside the library. So a lot of times I'll pull up and somebody will be using the internet
Sitting
overnight, before or after we open.
Yeah.
That's a big, during harvest season, since we're right on Main Street going down to the co-op, I have a hard time getting a parking spot because the semi drivers like to park on Main Street and bounce off our Wi-Fi while they're waiting to go down and unload. So, I mean, when we say this is a community of more than just the people in town, it goes far beyond the doors of the library.
And I think accessibility is the thing. It's not just, do I have the internet? I'm finding more of the older population may not have the internet. They also don't have the confidence to use it. So we have librarians were used all the times for tech help and for, can you help me type up or something all the time. But we also have a program, ours, for the teens help the people. We have it once a month where people are coming in and the teens are helping them with tech. And they're helping them get onto their Gmail. They're helping them log onto Facebook, which is always scary. They're helping, but what they're doing is they're typing up a how-to while they're doing. So the kids are getting volunteer hours and they're getting skills and showing them. So they walk away with a step-by-step from our teens, and sometimes they take it better from the teens than they do from their daughter or do from their kids. So it's accessibility too, and being a place to do that. I love that the state library provides for now, for as long as they have it, free online tutoring a month for my one child from first grade all the way till fifth grade, and that was 25 to 50 bucks a week. And so having that as a resource and being able to promote it, we promote it. I go to the conferences, I go to the first day of school. So parents can use that, and that's free through your state library, through your library right now. So, yeah, accessibility is more.
Just right there, how many of you guys help people print their bank statements?
Yes.
Because now there's the paper fee if they mail you statements from a lot of your bank and insurance and print insurance cards and how to get into stuff online. And that is super convenient if you are someone who's cell phone savvy and has a smartphone. I still have folks come in who have their track phone, flip phones, and need help putting a phone number into it because they can't get a hold of their granddaughter, won't be up in town for a couple of weeks. And so they know we're the town granddaughters at the library. I got a high school kid who can help you with that. So again, and while they're there, they check out a book and probably play cards with their friends. Yeah, do the puzzle. Awesome.
Okay. Otherwise, thank you very much. We appreciate you
Thank you.
coming in and yeah.
And Alan has a gift for
Okay.
each of the libraries.
Well, we had purchased these from it's a publication from the National Association of Counties, just kind of an explanation of how the counties work, how the county government works.
You said that. Thank you.
So I haven't traveled out to deliver them yet.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Are we gonna get a new original catalog?
Thank you all.
Thank you, ladies.
Yep.
Libraries, we hardly ever get to do. Thank you, folks.
Come see us.
Let's see that. The next item on our agenda is to appoint trustees to the landfill commission. We have the following 5 trustees: Jim Severance, Stan Neff, Carl Strobing, Greg Melcher, and Kevin Niederhoff. that are township trustees that also serve on the landfill commission. And if anyone would like to make a motion to reappoint them, I would take that at this time.
Make that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Are there any updates on board and committee meetings?
Yeah.
Not yet.
I did sit through an ICAP, poll on Friday. And they actually did have some good news. The, price expectations for our budget, 5 to 10%. They said liability 5% and property's been flat. So might be a good news when we get that renewal. And they also talked about their new cyber offering. Apparently, we had to get 2 policies last year because we were only allowed to get, I think, 250,000 liability. And they are gonna send an automatic quote to everybody for $1 million under that one policy. So we'll see what that looks like.
Okay. Good news, I think. Okay, is there anything else to come before the board this morning?
What you got coming in next week for budget?
I think mine will be next week. Jesse, have the fair group coming next week. Brenda, Nick, Carrie, and myself.
Okay.
Butch, do you have anything this morning?
Not really. Jeff had mentioned earlier about the holes that were dug out there in the dirt. That was from them boring in the fiber line for the new internet. They could take it from down by the electric plant down here and bore it all the way up. So they had to drill some holes, dig some holes, and then they drilled some holes in the main street. And they got it all the way into the building. So they're supposed to be here. Hopefully Jesse and I talked and he had emailed them. So hopefully they're gonna be here this week to terminate it all and then we can be running on it. So they get it hooked up. Jesse and I and Zach ran a few Cat 6 cables from my office all the way up to his where they needed it. So that part's done. Yeah, hopefully eager to finish that up and the guys are over at the sheriff's office. Hopefully finishing up, I think maybe mid-month or end of the month, the cabinet's supposed to come from the doors and door locks and the intercom system. So that can wrap up too. He's got all the wires pulled and all this stuff. He and I pulled a bunch of wires. I shouldn't say a bunch, too much wires that we didn't pull.
Wow. Okay. It's getting closer.
Yeah, see over there today's terminated some in the box, so getting closer.
All right. There's nothing else. I would take a motion to adjourn. All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right. We are adjourned. Thank you.